By early 2026, a relentless campaign of U.S. and Israeli precision strikes had effectively neutralized Iran's conventional military capability, reducing its command centers, drone launch sites, and nuclear facilities to rubble. But losing the battlefield did not mean losing the war. Instead of fighting a doomed conventional conflict, Tehran pivoted to an asymmetric survival strategy, establishing an absolute, paralyzing blockade over the Strait of Hormuz. This chart shows exactly what happens when 20% of the world's oil supply is suddenly choked off. You can see the global price of crude instantly spike vertically, sending shockwaves of panic through markets from Asia to Europe as supply chains seized up. Facing immense domestic and international pressure, U.S. President Donald Trump issued a blunt retaliatory threat, preparing to seize a singular, high-value target to force the strait back open. That target was Kharg Island, a narrow stretch of coral and rock covering barely 40 square kilometers in the Persian Gulf. So how did a sprawling conflict involving stealth bombers and hypersonic missiles funnel down to a standoff over a tiny island? Because whoever controls those 40 square kilometers controls the physical valve of an entire nation's economy. This map of Iran's southern border illustrates a massive geographical flaw for the world's third-largest oil producer. While the nation has huge crude reserves inland, its coastline slopes gently into extremely shallow waters. And that is a serious problem when your export business relies on supertankers. These colossal ships sit deep in the water to displace the weight of millions of barrels of crude, meaning they will run aground long before they can safely reach the mainland docks. To solve this, you have to travel 25 kilometers offshore to Kharg Island. Sitting right on the edge of a steep drop-off into deep water, the island provides a natural, deep-draft docking port perfectly suited for the world's largest transport ships. To bridge the gap between the mainland reserves and this deep-water port, engineers constructed an extensive network of submarine pipelines. These huge underwater arteries pump raw crude from major onshore extraction sites like Ahvaz and Gaksaran directly to the island. The scale of the resulting infrastructure is staggering. The island holds up to 30 million barrels of oil in reserve at any given moment and manages up to 90% of Iran's total global exports. This infrastructure forces an entire national economy to bottleneck through one stationary location, ensuring practically every drop of wealth the country generates must pass through this single piece of rock. Because of that extreme vulnerability, Kharg is heavily militarized. Access is strictly forbidden to unauthorized personnel, earning it the local title of the Forbidden Island. The island operates under the exclusive, absolute control of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. To secure the airspace overhead, the IRGC has blanketed the island with advanced S-300 and domestically produced Bavar 373 missile batteries, creating a formidable anti-air umbrella. The defenses extend below the surface, too. Operations are managed through a network of hidden underground command tunnels, while the surrounding waters are secured by round-the-clock submarine patrols and fast attack craft. These fortifications have already proven their durability in combat. During the grueling Iran-Iraq War of the 1980s, the island endured heavy, sustained bombing campaigns from the Iraqi Air Force, yet the defenses held strong enough that the flow of oil never stopped.
Decades of relentless engineering, combined with the island's natural geographic isolation, have successfully turned a commercial shipping terminal into an economic megafortress, built specifically to survive an assault from a major global power. That fortress was severely tested in spring of 2026 when U.S. airstrikes pounded Kharg Island, systematically taking out around 90 military targets, including radar installations and missile silos. But military analysts quickly noticed a stark anomaly in the aftermath. The bombing runs had entirely erased the island's defense grid, yet they left the towering oil storage tanks and the massive shipping jetties completely untouched. The reason for this restraint was a massive economic deterrent. If those export terminals were destroyed, millions of barrels of crude would be instantly and violently ripped from an already fragile global supply chain. This flowchart maps out the inevitable geopolitical domino effect. Wiping out the island's petroleum infrastructure would guarantee a global energy crash, But more importantly, it would severely damage the energy security of China, Kharg's biggest buyer, heavily incentivizing Beijing to enter the conflict directly. This creates the ultimate paradox for Kharg Island. Because every drop of Iranian wealth is bottlenecked through this single stationary target, it is the country's most fatal vulnerability, yet that exact same economic gravity acts as its absolute best shield against total destruction. The standoff over this tiny patch of coral proves a harsh reality of modern combat. You can field all the stealth bombers and smart munitions you want, but ultimately, military might cannot bypass the inescapable economic leverage of physical geography.